my sketchbook starts off in my intermediate drawing class. Here I was doing some thumbnails for a piece of fabric my professor had us draw, and this is what my piece of fabric ended up looking like. I also used this for my 3D design class, which was a sculpture class, and these are some ideas I was coming up with. I ended up going with this one. In my intermediate drawing class, our professor had us focus on continuing doing value, just to make sure we were still in the flow of drawing before leading up to going into color. So she had us do a variety of textures, like glass. Here we have paper. A little crumpled ball of paper she had us do. Along with paper, she had us do something shiny, so metal, like a spoon. Spoon is actually really fun to do because the sharp highlights and strong shadows. And also a water bottle. I think there's something. Fabric as well. Looking at patterns. She wanted us to be able to make sure we could do that. And then I think lastly was the water bottle before we moved on to our long term, but that's on a bigger piece of paper. But before we fully dived into the long term, she had us do a study of what our long term would be. So this is a really zoomed in, up close hair, because the drawing I did had hair in it and I decided to blow that up and practice it. She also had us do a practice sketch of what it'd be, without any shading, just skiing the sketch out, how the character was gonna feel. And yes, I got to do fan art. My professor was pretty cool. This is something I did in my free time. I designed a cake with my friend. And then we moved on to colored pencil. She had us overlay each of the colored pencils on top of each other in the rows. So one row was red or orange or green, and then horizontally like black or brown, pink. She also, for our colored pencil, it was more abstract. So she had us zoom in on a picture. This is actually like a backpack thing on a dude. She had us try some abstract work, just mark making, a variety of different marks. She wanted us to do at least, I think, 6 different strokes. So there's some squiggles, some circles, some stippling, etc. This one is pretty interesting. My professor had a tennis ball on a stick, and she had it follow around the tennis ball and through the room with a colored pencil as she swung them around. So it came out with these weird abstract lines. This is from my ASL class. My ASL professor had us describe a character through sign language, and then the other person had to draw it. It didn't turn out very well. I didn't want to use this page because it got ink on it. This is probably our last, maybe one of our last colored pencil assignments. She had us just do whatever we want, really, but it was pretty fun. She just wanted us to practice with colored pencil one more time. And then this is a little mini thumbnail of our final, well, not final, but our long term for colored pencil. Since it was abstract, she had us take our own picture, and I just kind of quickly scribbled out what my picture was going to look like. This is also from my ASL class. I had to do a video. This was fun, just fun practicing. This wasn't for any particular class, but just my own free time. After colored pencil, though, my intermediate drawing class, we moved on to soft pastels. So she had us do something simple. I chose an apple, and she just wanted us to use like a few basic colors to get used to the medium. And then from here, she sent us over the weekend to try a landscape with the soft pastels. And honestly, we had a quite hard time. I say we because all my classmates, including me, struggled. We didn't really know how to use the medium. We were over blending and not having enough hard lines, or the opposite, not enough blending and too many hard lines. So from hello paper. This is also just my own personal free time. It's actually a robot that NASA uses. So when we got back in class, she had us, instead of just using blending and hard, at the same time, she told us just use hard, like hard marks, no blending with your finger for one, and then the next one just blend. So we got used to doing just blending and just hard lines, and then from there we were able to mix the two, and everything turned out a lot better from here on out because we were getting a better understanding of the medium and just texture of it as well. It's very textury. So here's some thumbnails for the long term of soft pastels. She wanted a landscape. She called it macro, or we have a landscape, and then these little squares are zoomed in portions of the landscape. So it's like abstract elements mixed with kind of realism. So there's another one. I didn't end up going with that one though. I did actually end up going with this one. It was a lot of fun. Got to draw some stars. Of course, that's on a huge piece of paper. This is my free time. I was designing these weird little lizards because I thought they'd be cute and, well, derpy. And I think they are. They're pretty fun to draw. My professor had us mix mediums together because this is for our very final project in intermediate drawing. So like I wanted to use color pencil, pastels, and I also ended up using marker. So she wanted me to test how those mediums reacted with each other, so I kind of did. This is also more of my free time. I took those derpy little lizards and I made some thumbnails with them. I did start this painting, however I never finished it. Didn't want to use that page because I don't like marker bleed. So for our long term, it was really interesting because she gave us 3 words. I got potato, doctor, and France. So we had to come up with a concept from those 3 words. So when I heard doctor, I went, maybe a plague doctor, or at first a normal doctor. Of course, France, the Eiffel Tower. And I went through quite a few pages of concepts, just racking my brain on what I could do with these. Thought maybe a potato monster. I scrapped that idea. Maybe a plague doctor. Potato monster fighting. And I thought maybe a dragon that shot out potatoes at the plague doctor in France. And I didn't go with that one either. Which could have been fun, but I didn't. And then on the side, she wanted us to take an object, our object, and then combine it with another object. Because the purpose of this assignment was to practice surrealism. So potato duck actually made it into the final piece, but I mixed the potato with like glasses, or like a water bottle. I played with some perspective on maybe did I want this, or I was still kind of stuck on like the fight scene, but I did end up scrapping it. I went for this squiggly thing. The squiggly thing makes no sense. Yeah, okay, I didn't explain it more, but the squiggly thing basically is a cauldron with a potato duck in it, and a plague doctor taking notes with France in the background. So it turned out pretty cool, but that's on a giant piece of paper and isn't part of the sketchbook. Now this was, my drawing 2 class was mixed with drawing 1, and she just had us join in with some of their practice of drawing people with not really looking at her page, but just looking at the picture of the people. Just for a fun practice, she had us join in. It was kind of optional. This, I'm not sure. It's notes for something, but I don't quite remember. This goes in my 3D design class. For our final in my 3D design class, she let us build whatever we wanted, but it had to be made from 100 objects. So I chose a rocket, and I made it with well over 100 matchsticks, because even though 100 was the minimum, it took way more than 100 matchsticks. If you want to see that sculpture, that could be another video. I do have it. Okay. So this is actually more of my bigger thumbnail for the Plague Doctor surrealism thing. I did all of my color testing on this page. I tested what the fire under the cauldron would be like. Tested the... I laid out the composition also in much greater detail than the little thumbnail sketch. So this page was super helpful. I don't think my piece would have turned out nearly as good as it did without it. Of course, I don't like marking on pages. They're dirty. these are my fun little sketches, because after this I went on winter break. So, the new Pokemon game came out, and I fell in love with Dash Bun, so I was drawing some Pokemon stuff. Because why not? Who doesn't love drawing Pokemon stuff? I also practice some faces in my own free time. I love to exaggerate and kinda caricature, but kinda not. You can still feel a little hint of anime that is within my hands just from growing up and drawing anime characters. This leads into my painting class, my Painting 1 class. She had us look at a shell, like a seashell, and observe it and write it all down just to test our observational skills. But this also bled into my ceramics class. I was designing some bowls and some cups I wanted. More fun free time. I like Brawl Stars, so I was doodling 8-bit, but I never actually finished this page. And I think it's okay to leave pages sometimes. This is a thumbnail for my first painting I did in Painting 1. I got to take a bunch of my objects. I love space-themed things. So I got a little astronaut, and I did the concept for it here. And then she also, this is the same professor that did my drawing, so she had us zoom in on a part of our piece, our painting, and we did a technique called grisaille. So it starts off completely in black and white, and then you add glazes of color on top. But in our sketchbook, she just wanted us to practice the black and white. But the final painting did have glazes on it, and it looked really cool. So, back to my own personal stuff. I designed a bowl for a friend to make, because she wanted me to draw it. But I also did more Pokemon, because I love Palmy. This is actually Palmot. Goldfish, you know, whatever, just fun little things. Some doodles. Back to people. Got the rock. Got a nice chipmunk. I like to draw people. So, this one I was trying to stylize more, trying to exaggerate a little bit more. And I thought it was a little too realistic, the first one. I'd really gotten used to doing realism because of all my college classes having us do realism because they're beginner level classes. But now that I'm out of beginner level classes, I'm able to have more freedom, so I've been doing that. I designed maybe if I want to do an orc painting. I felt like doing an orc painting. I just got the concept of it, never moved to painting. Because since I like space stuff, I also designed some space helmets because I decided instead of an orc painting, I want to do something space related. And this is I think this is the last page I was working on, a thumbnail and concept for a painting I do want to do, but I haven't gotten to it yet. And yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed.